Right now on Movie Review Talk, we've got Venom, we got The Hate You Give, and a deep dive into A Star Is Born. Hey there, movie fans. Welcome to Collider's Movie Review Talk. I'm your host, Scott Movie Mantz. Every week, we review what's new in theaters. We pick something that is streaming, and we pick maybe a Blu-ray that you might have missed that you should not skip because it's out now. Every week, I'm joined by guest critics, and here's the beauty of all of this. This is a spoiler-free zone, fellas. Spoiler-free, no spoilers. So you
Thanks for the
watch
heads up.
to your heart's
Thanks for the heads up.
Right? Watch to your heart's content.
Straight to the spoils.
Share with everyone. Share with all your friends. Tell them to share with their friends. And joining me, I've been trying to get this guy on the show
What's up,
since
man?
it first started. Shawn Edwards, my friend from Kansas City. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure, man. I've known you for 15 years. This is the first time on the show, so I feel honored. I've been waiting for this for a long time, man. We've had so many discussions about movies behind the scenes. Now it's time for the people to see how we exchange.
And this is the first time we're
first
doing
time,
this.
First time.
Officially.
In front of people.
This is going to be great.
Yeah, this is going to be good.
Also, my good friend, Jay Washington. You know him from Collider. You also know him from Nurse. Jay.
I am so happy to be here. This has been, watching these weekly have been dope.
Oh, great.
So yes, I do pay attention. And, yes, Scott, I do pay attention. But to be a part of this and to talk about the films we're about to talk about, that's what has me even more excited about this. And when you just said spoiler free, I was just like, damn, because that's what I do. I just have to pull some things back. But nonetheless, we're gonna have a bunch of fun. I'm so excited for this.
Well, the challenge will be talking about it without giving away any details, because we always want our viewers and all our movie fans to be
that's very, very
No, we want them to enjoy the movies the same we do. Yeah,
exactly.
We want them to walk in and just have it just like, oh, okay.
This is what this is.
Right.
Well, gentlemen, let's get right to it. Our first movie, we are taking a deep dive into one of the most talked about movies of the year. It is in theaters right now. It is A Star Is Born, directed by Bradley Cooper, starring Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga, Sam Elliott, and Andrew Dice Clay. This is the classic story of a fading musician and his rising protege. The story has been told officially 3 times before, in 1937, 1954, 1976, and there's also other versions that are loosely based on A Star Is Born. So it is in theaters now. Lots to talk about with A Star Is Born. I got to go to Shawn.
No, absolutely.
No.
You go first, my friend.
Well, the first thing that Warner Brothers should do is immediately change the title to Two Stars Are Born. Because what you get with this movie is a Bradley Cooper we've never seen before in front and behind the camera.
Yep.
I mean, he's always sort of had this magnetism, and he's always been this likable guy. But we really never knew he had the acting chops that he displays in this. I mean, you had a hint of that, in the Clint Eastwood movie. Just a sliver of that, a sliver. But this is like, he's going at it 100 miles an hour. Like, he embodies this guy, and then he's got a voice to boot. So I give him full credit for that, because he amazed me and surprised me. But the wild card was Lady Gaga. I mean, Lady Gaga's a creative force. She's a fashion rebel and all things it takes to become like a pop superstar. But I didn't know she could strip all that down to be like completely convincing. And like, I bought in after like 5 or 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, what is this? Like, how can you tell a story that's been told so many times completely differently?
Okay, right, Jay.
I want to echo that about telling the story. I think with Lady Gaga, she was telling her story. Because she's done interviews numerous of times where she said execs have told her she wasn't cute enough, her nose, things like that. So it was personal to her. And you see that, and it resonated heavily throughout this film. With Bradley Cooper, I've never seen him go this deep to the point where you took an emotional ride with him from beginning to end. And when I mean, it's just so much, it has you in tears.
Yeah, it does.
Because you see parts where you just really feel sorry for him. You forget that this is a character, and you watch him just stumble through life while trying to just, he tries to be right one moment, stumbles the next. And the story, Sam Elliott is just amazing.
Yeah, he is great.
The dynamic between him and Bradley Cooper, when you see it, you're like, wait, that's what they are when they finally tell you what they are together. And then you see how it plays further along. Andrew Dice Clay is Andrew Dice Clay. But to watch him in this capacity, as opposed to what we've seen him as a comedic force in the other shows, this is a nice twist.
Yeah.
To be that father figure that he is. To be the way where at first he tells his daughter certain things, and then he's all behind her on different things, and then he just has these ups and downs with his daughter. And again, Lady Gaga with the emotion, no matter what. You don't even see Gaga anymore. I remember I was watching a clip from the red carpet, the black carpet, excuse me.
Yeah.
And Anthony Ramos said he kept calling her Stephanie because that's her actual name, and that's who that was. That was Stephanie throughout that movie.
Good point. You know, the thing about Dice, just to say, Andrew Dice Clay, I mean, he was a revelation in Blue Jasmine from 5 years ago.
Yes.
So I think that really opened up a whole lot of doors, and he's walking through them now in A Star Is Born. As for Bradley Cooper, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I really sort of discovered him as on screen. I mean, I know he's on some TV shows, but in Wedding Crashers, and of course he was the Hangover guy, one of the main guys in The Hangover. But to see him stretch as an actor in American Sniper, in American Hustle, and now in front of and behind the camera, I mean, he's blown away by his abilities as a director, that he was able to take a story that's been done so many times before, put a fresh enough spin on it to make it it's so entertaining, it's so much fun, it's so much chemistry between Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
Well, I think the amazing thing that Bradley Cooper did with this movie is he made it feel so blue collar. Like it's got that everyday man's feel to it, because you could have easily made this story be like this big grand explosion of rock and music, but it's an everyday story, which why I think it works with both men and women.
Yeah.
Because it's just so and this is no disrespect, it's so regular. It has a really regular feel. You can easily identify with all the characters. I mean, it's so very authentic in that sort of Midwestern, I can relate to this story way.
His directing eye for every shot you see, no shot is wasted.
That's
true.
one
One of the great things I love about this. And even him having to have direction on himself.
Yeah, that's hard.
That's
You're
all
directing
hard.
yourself,
It's very hard.
Not in a supporting role like Joel Edgerton.
As the lead character.
Yeah.
To have to shoot a scene, as the director what you want it to look like, go back, watch playback, think if you like it or not, and do it again. Like I was telling Shawn, again, from the very opening scene with him.
Yep.
To have it the way you see it. Again, it takes a thoughtful eye to know, okay, this is what I want the whole picture to be. And you see that. Again, the concerts we see even in the trailers, when you see them on full display, they're phenomenal. The way they're shot, to have that directing eye to show you these, not just, hey, look at this big concert. It's certain things you're supposed to capture with this, and you do get it.
See, here's the thing. So I agree with both your points, all of them. The only issue that I have with the movie is that it is A Star Is Born. And if you've seen any one of the other versions of this story, you know where it's going. It is A Star Is Born.
That's just one fault, yeah.
It's just again, there's nothing wrong with retelling a story. I mean, hey, look.
Not at all.
You don't think that happens all the time in this town?
Especially if you elevate it. I mean, it's not a 100% perfect film. I know we're singing all these praises, but I do agree with that point. But I think it's just fresh enough.
Yeah, I agree. Oh yeah, sure. For me, I felt like it's the La La Land of 2018 in the terms that it's going to be a big hit. Critics are going to love it. It's going to go very far during the award season. It's going to sweep the Golden Globes unless Bohemian Rhapsody is a threat.
I think the one thing for a fact when you say award season, I've said this during all my reviews and any thoughts I have, I believe Lady Gaga has solidified herself the Oscar. Because
she's got it for the win.
Jay. Have we heard any? And this is saying when we've seen all the movies so far this year and what's coming up on the back end. Granted, some of us have seen some movies coming on the back end. Do we know of any powerful Best Actress performance right now?
Well, that's a great question. There's still some movies we haven't seen.
Just a couple.
Vice. Amy Adams in Vice.
Okay,
Amy's going supporting. She's going supporting.
She's supporting.
But wait, I also feel like there's movies like Mary Queen of Scots. You got Margot Robbie and Saoirse Ronan. I mean, they just in the trailer, sight unseen. But
that movie's going to have to make people levitate, though.
But
in order to stop Gaga,
make them rise out.
It's going to have to make them levitate. Gaga Gaga's got a lot of X factors when it comes to this whole award season thing that these other people aren't bringing to the table. And unless that performance is so great to supersede that, they don't have a chance.
You get what I'm saying?
No, I totally get what you're saying.
She brings so much on so many different levels. On so many, to the point where you're like, this is like, you still have to tell yourself, this is Lady Gaga.
Right. But she's playing a pop star.
She's instantly got nominations across the board. Number one, because every show wants her to walk the red carpet, and every show wants her to attend it. So she's got nominations locked at every show.
Yeah.
You know, from the Topeka Film Critics Circle to the Golden Globe and to the Academy. That's done. That's done.
I agree. And look,
that's done.
A Star is Born. It is going to ride the wave all the way up till February 24th, 2019. Rightly so. It's a great movie. I mean, it is a great version of a story that's been told three other times officially, but
it's mainstream done well.
Yeah,
man.
it's entertaining.
It opens to all cultures. It does not close itself off.
That's a great point.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's like having a Star is Born is like having a great dinner at Olive Garden.
Okay, well, if you're going to give it a letter grade, Jay,
I give it an A.
An A, Shawn.
I give it an A minus.
Okay,
A minus.
I give it an A minus only because it didn't take any surprising chances for me to. That's the only demerit.
Yeah, but I don't think this story needed to.
Well, okay.
And you're talking about a film that's been done 4 times. Like, at what point you surprise somebody? Some people may have that big of a criticism because they're like, wait, this is A Star is Born. It's been done this way, and now you just want to change all this.
Right.
So you run that risk, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on to another film that's opening this weekend. This one is going to be #1 at the box office. It made $10 million in its Thursday night previews.
Jeez.
Projected to do between $55 and $70 million for the weekend, which would make it the biggest October opening ever of all time, beating 2013's Gravity. This film is Venom, based on the Marvel comic book character, one of the best superheroes or supervillains or anti-heroes, whatever you want to call them, of the last 30 years since he made his very first appearance in a full issue of Amazing Spider-Man number 300. This is Venom, directed by Ruben Fleischer, starring Tom Hardy, Michelle Williams, Riz Ahmed, Jenny Slate. This is not really in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not. I mean,
no, it's not at all.
It's not. What you mean?
It's not at all. It's not at all. It's not at all.
Take it away.
Break it down. Break it down. Break it down.
Like, here goes nothing, and I'm like, you ain't kidding.
No. Before he starts, like, I love going to church on Fridays.
Okay. Well, everyone who knows me knows my comic book lore and how I am diehard about these films. I was already skeptical from the moment you said you were doing this movie.
Yeah.
Because you cannot successfully do Venom's story without Spider-Man.
Right.
It is based on that. But a lot of people go into it, it's Tom Hardy. And I'm like, yes, but there is only so much one man can do. It's only so much.
Only so much.
When the first trailer came out and we got the first look of the suit, it was a brief look. It didn't look perfect, but it was like there's potential.
Right.
Then Sony did the worst thing they could have done.
They've released the film.
No, before that. They did one thing before that.
Because I don't want everybody thinking Jay's going to crap on this. They released you too many trailers showing you too much footage of the symbiote, and you saw how bad the CGI was.
Yeah.
You started seeing it. Because if you had a regular television, you were like, is this bad? But if you had one of these ultra high definition 4K TVs, you could see it. And even in the trailers, you see one of the biggest issues with a CGI film, eye lines are off.
Yeah.
Who are you looking at? I understand you're supposed to believe it's there, but a great actor, no matter what, knows this is what I'm looking at. If I'm looking over here, this is what I'm looking at.
Right.
Jenny Slate is pointless in this movie.
Right.
I'm going to say that. Like, I just call it for what it. You could have cast anyone in this movie. Michelle Williams has said she only did it for the money and to work with Tom Hardy. You can tell when you watch this movie.
Yeah.
Riz Ahmed was so pumped up, like, okay, Riz Ahmed's in it. And then you're like, why is Riz Ahmed in it?
Right. Like, why?
You literally, I mean,
why?
I hate to say those things. The dynamic relationship they have with Eddie and the symbiote gives you a lot of fun. Because the jokes between the two of them, how we see in the trailer, the talking back and forth, and even the conversations you don't see in trailers, you giggle sometimes, you chuckle. But then there are things they do and they say that, like Shawn and I were discussing before we got on camera, what happened with this script?
Yeah, it's the script.
That's the problem.
Yeah, Shawn.
The biggest problem with this movie is the script. It feels like a first draft.
Yep.
Yeah.
It feels like as they were filming, they were adding sides at the last minute. The script is all over the place. And that's the foundation. I mean, the dialogue in this film is awful.
You know, for starters here, I mean, like you just talked about, Jay, how to make a movie that was a spin-off of one of the best Spider-Man stories of the last 30 years ago, 1998, and do it without all that. And you know, the story, it wasn't up to par. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't interesting enough. It doesn't work without that just sort of like spin-off that like he was attached to Peter Parker, and then it like attached to Eddie Brock, who hated Peter Parker, and the symbiote hated Spider-Man. So you're missing all of that dynamic. But regardless,
and that's too much to miss. That's too much to miss.
That's an essential part of the character.
Right. That's too much to miss in order for this to work.
Exactly. And the other thing is this. The movie didn't really know what it wanted to be.
No.
At all.
It didn't have an identity.
No.
Maybe they should have gone for like a really hard R rating and really just gone for it, which they didn't. The movie's PG-13.
Also, I want to see the 40 minutes that are missing.
Yeah,
I
said that the best part of the movie was
I need to see these because 40 minutes is a lot.
It's a lot. But the film that's missing can never be the best part.
I agree with this. But I'm so anti saying I want to see director's cuts. I hate saying that because I want to see what you released.
Right,
in
but
theaters. You
know what? The director's cut of Daredevil.
Of course, it's an amazing movie.
But that's rare.
But that's rarity.
That's rare.
But with this, you had so much potential in hearing it because we all had heard the rumors that Tom Holland filmed scenes to try to establish some level of a connection.
Right.
Clearly, Marvel and Kevin Feige saw this and were like, no,
we're not going to
pull it out.
Yeah.
That's why they should. I mean, everything does. This is a classic case of everything doesn't need to be made.
Right.
You know, not to age myself, but this is a Nancy Reagan Hall of Fame candidate because sometimes you just got to say no. Just don't do it. I mean, seriously. I mean, because once you don't have that connection, what's the point?
And also, you know what? It actually
the point?
makes Venom's appearance in 2007 Spider-Man 3 look like the Dark Knight.
Oh yeah, in comparison. And then you think, and now you have to think,
which is
not
very
only
true.
With this film, Sony has already said they were planning initially to do other Spider-Man spinoffs. So we had Morbius supposed to be coming next with Jared Leto, which I am so anti no matter what. See Suicide Squad. Then you're supposed to do Kraven the Hunter. Silver and Black has been put on the back burner. How can you do all these films that are predicated on having Spider-Man and you see how a film like this doesn't have the necessary components to do it?
You have to have you have to have had all the components to make this work. Which is why this film is so bad.
Ultimately, you know, Tom Hardy's character, as played by Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock, is just he has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. I didn't root for him. I didn't empathize with him in any way at all. And just the bits between him and, you know, battling with his inner voice, who was Venom. I don't know if it was supposed to be funny. It wasn't. It didn't work.
They were slightly going for a sort of a Deadpool sort of thing.
That's exactly what they were doing.
Work.
With some of the lines the symbiote said.
It just didn't work.
I tell people this. If you go into this, and it sounds very weird to say, if you go into this film with no expectations, no hopes, because if you go into this knowing this is what I want to see, you're going to be upset.
Absolutely.
Just if you want to go in and say, look, it is what it is. Let me just see what happens. Then I've heard many people say you will have fun with it. And in that regard, I can understand that.
I don't know.
If you have none, like, I mean, just...
It's impossible to go in that way with none just because of the fact it says Marvel.
Well, for me, and it's for me because as a comic book guy, this is what I do. I've been a fan since I was a child reading comic books. Yeah. And I can't pull away from that part of saying, you're going to do a Venom film without Spider-Man. I can't understand that. Yeah. And then you tell me his first main villain is something that comes later on in the comic book series. Riot is from the 5 symbiotes from the Maximum Carnage series. You have to have Carnage first.
Oh, right.
Which everybody knows what's happening with that too. So let's not play brand new. Everybody knows it's Woody Harrelson. Yeah. It's already been told.
Right.
Worst look ever.
You hate that.
I hate it.
You hate that.
I hate his look.
Well, the thing is, you know, when you look at what Tom Hardy did with Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, He was terrifying. And you know, Tom Hardy makes a movie that's not so great. He still is great, but to have him in this movie, it just didn't work. He wasn't right for the role. He was miscast. He doesn't save the movie, even with lowered expectations. And I went in, Jay, with lowered expectations and still fell short. What's your letter grade? It's okay. Be honest, my friend.
I'm gonna be honest. My grade for this movie is an D-.
D-. You're generous.
You are this movie.
I don't want to just say because my heart just says F, but then I know the comments. D-. We can go there.
I feel you, but this movie doesn't work for anyone. It doesn't work for comic book fans. It doesn't work for novices. It doesn't work for anyone. I give it an F. It's one of the worst movies of the year.
First F that I've ever given on
bad.
Movie Review Talk, and it's for a character
Wow,
that
we agree?
I loved. Yes,
Wow.
we agree.
It's bad. It's
yeah,
bad.
F. But
Yeah.
D-.
Oh, no,
that
okay,
is
I'm gonna
generous.
change mine to the F then, because I'm not gonna be this odd man out knowing what I feel in my heart. It's an F.
Man, you always got to speak your mind, man. Come
Speak
on,
your mind,
man.
that's right.
It's an F.
Come on,
It just doesn't work.
It doesn't work
and
at
especially
all.
with this whole talk of a trilogy,
Oh,
which
please, God, no. Absolutely not. All right,
Not
let's
even
move
the
on
box
to
office.
a
All right,
movie
here we
that
go.
we
All right.
really want to talk about.
Yeah,
This
here we
is
go.
a film that premiered at the Toronto Film Festival to rave reviews. It is in select theaters today. It opens wide on October 19th. We're going to review it right now. This is The Hate You Give, directed by George Tillman Jr., who directed Men of Honor and Notorious. The movie stars Amanda Stenberg, Regina Hall, Anthony Mackie, Common, Russell Hornsby. Based on the award-winning 2017 young adult novel by Angie Thomas, Amanda Stenberg plays Star Carter, who witnesses the fatal shooting of her friend at the hands of a white police officer and stands up to do the right thing. Okay, fellas. Jay, go.
Yeah. This movie there are going to be so many people who are going to be upset about it because of the material, because of what it's based on. But it's based on real life. As someone who grew up on the south side of Chicago, who still has deep, close connections to that, this happens all too frequently.
Yep.
And to see it on the big screen in the exact way it would happen is heart-wrenching, terrifying, emotional, and needed.
Yep.
And needed. Amanda Stenberg, first of all, that is Rue from the Hunger Games now in a whole nother capacity. And when you see what this young woman does, what she has to go through with the two lives she makes herself live. She doesn't have to. The two lives she makes herself live, and to realize she doesn't need to be that. She only needs to be one person as herself.
Yeah.
It is so emotional. This is a film that is needed. There's so much to go in depth about, but it's hard to do it spoiler free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Sure,
you can sort of talk about this movie spoiler free in a lot of different situations. Number one, I want to say this off top. This is probably one of the best YA adaptions we've ever seen.
Absolutely agree. 100%.
So let's start with that, because there have been a lot. The YA movement's been big, and it's been going on for a lot of years, and they're usually just like,
let's see what happens.
This is the first YA adaptation that really elevates to a different level. I screened this movie at TIFF, Toronto International Film Festival, and it's been a long time since I watched a movie where I felt like I was looking directly in the mirror and reliving my life. There's a couple things that happened in the movie that happened with me and my parents, which like really hit me emotionally, especially with some of the scenes and how a lot of African Americans are taught how to deal with encounters with the police starting at a young age, because I've had so many conversations with colleagues and work associates and friends from different cultures who are stunned by the fact that my parents have had certain talks with me about certain things that are just everyday for some people. This movie boldly goes there and smartly goes there and does so without being preachy or heavy-handed, which is amazing in the way that it plays out.
I could not agree with you more on every front there. First of all, it is absolutely the best young adult adaptation as a feature that we've seen so far.
As a feature film, yes.
And you know, when I hear a movie's based on a young adult novel, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, and knowing just the plot line of the film and the story, I thought, okay, it's going to be relevant and topical and timely for now, but I was also expecting something a little emotionally manipulative. But the emotions in this film are earned, they are honest, they are provocative, they are really, I would say, existential to a certain point, and they are absolutely profound and poignant. There is a scene in the movie. I don't want to give anything away about it. Where star Amanda Stenberg,
who's amazing,
who is, by the way,
phenomenal. Why aren't we talking about her in the Best Actress race?
Yeah, that's
wait a minute. I have on my notes right here, Shawn. Oscar worthy.
But that's why I was waiting to get to that.
Okay,
Let him finish the scene.
Where she's talking to her, she has a white boyfriend, and he says, "Look, I love you. I see you without color," and she says, "No. You have to see me.
If you don't see my color, you don't see me.
And I just went, you know what? I've never heard it like that before. And it just was such a great moment. One of many in this film. Russell Hornsby as her father. Whoa, great. Okay.
Why aren't we talking about him?
Him and the Best Actor for sure.
He would be supported.
Okay, first of all, Russell Hornsby was phenomenal in this movie. He was like, I mean, I've seen him do so many other things, but I felt like he was a real discovery in this movie. Terrific as her father.
He will totally be the mainstream audience.
Worthy of an Oscar nomination for supporting actor. Okay, now let's get into Amanda Stenberg. Okay. Wow! If she does not get nominated, she's in every scene in this movie. The movie is 2 hours and 12 minutes.
All I know is there have been actresses who have won Best Actresses for performances that weren't a tenth as good as this.
For her to be, and we always say it when it comes to young actors, young actresses, like how can they really give the emotion you think they should give? Well, Timothée Chalamet gave it to us last year. Amanda Stenberg is giving it to us this year.
Yes.
And for me as a father of two, to watch that. I have a 15-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. Yes. Wow. So to see that as that could be my daughter growing up dealing with that. My son potentially has to deal with that. And so I see it and I'm like, to watch her deal with this and have to have this weigh heavy on her because it affects her so much going just to school. Because of the life she tried to be in.
That's the tricky part and the exceptional part of her performance is because the way the movie and the way the book was written, the way it's structured, because as an actress, she's giving you what you need when you see her with the family dynamic, and then when she's transported to go to a different school, she's giving you that dynamic, and then toward the end of the movie, because of certain things that happen, she's giving you a different dynamic. So, and she carries that range while staying true to the character and never defaulting to something else.
The requirements of this role are
amazing,
so massive
and demanding.
They're demanding very much.
And she carries it all.
Can we go back? And I'm sorry to go back to Russell Hornsby.
He was
to be that father.
Yeah.
There is one scene I just will tell. I won't say what happens. He pulls his kids out the car.
Yeah.
Stand on the line.
No. There's some amazing things. Now, I never like to sell that anything is perfect, and I do have one major problem with the movie.
Anthony Mackie.
The Anthony Mackie character was ridiculous.
It's Anthony Mackie's character in this.
The character, it was one note. It was too thin.
Yeah, I agree.
It was way underdeveloped, and the way Anthony Mackie delivers everything, it almost was borderline cartoonish.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I was like, oh my God, stop. Like, please, no more Anthony Mackie scenes. It just almost took me out of the moment. But he doesn't derail it, but it is a weakness of the film.
But the scope of the movie, it is a sweeping scope because you see the way the aftermath of the police shooting has on Star. You see the effect it has on her family, and you see the way it affects her relationship with her friends
and the community.
Everything changed. The community, like it is a sweeping building. It just keeps growing and growing. And George Tillman Jr. He did a fantastic job directing this movie. 2 hours and 12 minutes, and it flies by. I think this is an extraordinary film and absolutely worthy of Best Picture nomination.
I will say
no, without a doubt. And I also love the fact this is not a spoiler because it's included in the trailer, but the use of the Tupac music and the way they incorporate it into the plot.
Because
I'm just saying.
Because to break down certain things,
the lyrics,
the lingo that many people would not know.
No.
Yeah.
And we also have to give credit to Algie Smith. We also
He's
have to,
great.
he was great because he was the facilitator to start these things, to know about how the lyrics.
And
would
if his
play
character
things.
doesn't work, this movie goes another direction.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because of when it takes the turn,
He's dope.
It takes the turn because you think, something else is going to happen. It's going to cause this. And the way it takes the turn,
it was smart. That was smart casting.
That was a very smart casting.
That was smart casting. I mean, this movie is worthy to be in the Best Picture discussion, and Amandla is worthy to be in the Best Actress discussion all day, every day.
Which brings me back to I said originally Gaga might have earned it, and I only said that because I knew we were about to talk about this. I hadn't seen I hadn't seen The Hate You Give yet. And as much emotion as I felt with Gaga, I felt just as much with Star.
I felt more with Star. I learned more from
You
Star.
learn more.
But I connected so much more because, again, the father in me.
Okay.
But in a real world, it would be a fair battle between Amandla and Lady Gaga. But in a fair reality, the reality is
a whole different ball.
She's not even probably going to get nominated.
What's your letter grade, Sean?
I go at A-.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
only
A-.
because of the Anthony Mackie.
The Anthony Mackie thing, yeah. But it's a film that people need to see it.
And people be like, well, he's Anthony Mackie.
I don't say that a lot. I do not say that a lot because it's so cliche, but this is a movie that everyone needs to see.
And it's not just because of this day and time, but because it'll give people of all cultures a broader perspective. Because, like you said earlier, it does not beat you over the head.
It really doesn't. It doesn't beat you over. What's your letter grade?
A-.
A-. Okay, A- for me.
I'm just so glad Spike Lee didn't direct this movie.
Okay, wait, hang on. Save that thought because the plot line, the inciting incident of The Hate You Give is also an inciting incident of our next film.
Yes.
This one is called Monsters and Men. Is written and directed by Ronaldo Marcus Green. Stars John David Washington, Anthony Ramos, Kelvin Harrison Jr. And in this film, the aftermath of a police killing of a black man is told from 3 points of view: an African-American police officer, a bystander who films the act on his cell phone, and a high school student who has a crisis of conscience. Okay, similar incident, different film. Whereas Hate You Give, you had 1 point of view. This one, you have 3. What did you think of this one?
Here's the thing. People always ask me, like, do these things really happen to African Americans, to black people? Is this what really goes down in the community? The answer to that, without me saying yes, is, of course, because why do we have so many filmmakers telling these stories? If this wasn't going down, you wouldn't have, because there's a couple other movies that deal with similar subject matter that have been released. Blind Spotting, to a certain extent. You can kind of even throw Black Klansman sort of in that bundle as well. So these issues are real, and this film is really authentic. Like the Hate You Give felt like a movie. It's a very good movie, but as you're watching, it felt like a Hollywood movie. This crackles with a realness that you seldom see, and these 3 different perspectives are so frighteningly realistic. I almost felt like it was a documentary.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
The scene that transpires everything is almost a mirror image of the Eric Garner scene from about 4 years ago,
which made this really hard for me to watch.
Made it really hard because when I saw it setting up, I said, "Please don't tell me you were about to do this exactly the same."
And
way.
they didn't.
And it didn't. But then what it still did was like, this is how it goes. This is literally how it goes. And you do always have, because we see the videos all the time, you do have that bystander who the first thing they know to do now is, let me pull out this phone.
Yeah.
Because if they're not just recording it, a lot of people now are live streaming it. Just so people can't say, oh, this is changed and edited and doctored. And to watch that, and then to watch how the situation unfolds with Anthony Ramos's character, how that is like, yeah, that'll happen. Again, like you said, if these stories didn't happen, filmmakers would not be telling them.
Right.
To watch the conflict within John David Washington's character.
Who's the
most underrated performance of 2018.
Yeah, he is completely
this one or the one in a
this one
because you watch the conflict, because it's the story you hear as someone with many personal friends in law enforcement back in Chicago. The story of my job on the street, I have to try to leave it there because sometimes I bring it home.
Yeah,
and it's hard to separate the two, and you see that. You see that in so many ways. And then Kelvin Harrison's the teenager who you just like, oh, this isn't supposed to go the way it goes with him, and then it does.
The thing I love the most about this movie, I saw this at Sundance back in January.
Oh, wow, you saw it a while ago.
Yeah. So I watched it again because, you want to get refreshed and be in the moment.
Of course.
But the thing about Monsters and Men was, like, I saw it like the day after I saw Blind Spotting.
Oh.
And I remember thinking, like you were saying, like, clearly, if this sort of story is being told many times in different ways by different filmmakers, this is happening a lot. Yeah, we see it. We see it on the news because of people who capture it on their phones. But this is like a very, very, very serious subject here, and to see it told from so many different points of view, and three of them just in one movie alone. But still, what I appreciated the most about this movie was the restraint. I did not feel like I was being manipulated, beaten over the head, and it does not build, not that I have any problem with this movie at all, because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It does not build to an explosive climax like Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee's landmark 1989 movie, which was shot in the same area, Bedford-Stuyvesant area in New York. That movie built to a crescendo. This one doesn't. This one sort of like, the ending of this film leaves it up to you. And that's
it does. It does, and that's what I loved about it. I also loved the three different perspectives. I mean, going back to Do the Right Thing quickly. I mean, that's the best movie ever made. But that's for another.
I love that.
That's a whole other
Best
thing.
opening credits too.
It's got a lot of best, but it should have won Best Picture.
Rosie Perez.
I mean, it had a lot of good things. But no, that's what I did like that about this movie. It leaves it open ended at the end. And the thing that we criticize movies like Venom for, which started badly because the source material, which was the script, was so bad. This script was amazing. I mean, the dialogue was so nuanced and just and real, and I mean, it was you could believe these people existed in real life.
Absolutely, and by the way, massive, huge shout out to John David Washington.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
yes, he's Denzel Washington's son, but you know what? He is an actor. I mean, we can stop referring to him in that way.
The way
Black
the movie
Klansman,
starts with him.
Right?
The way the film opens with him, and just to watch his facial expressions, the genuineness of like, this is that moment.
Yeah.
And because things that happen, and we're like, yo, I'm supposed to be this dude that's protected in a sense, and I'm not.
Right.
And I'm not.
It's just amazing how many things happen in this movie, or how many things are said in this movie that have actually happened to me in real life, which is like, wow, because I have a number.
At the end of the day,
I have a number. No, I do. I have a number.
It's at the end of the day, I'm not seen as a person who could just be living his life normally.
Right.
I'm automatically accused of doing something. If I'm just walking down the street.
Or driving in a car.
There's one scene, it happens throughout the film. It's not a spoiler, but it's something that's real that I want to just discuss. Once the incident happens, there's a memorial placed by the store. And if you pay attention to the film, this is the truest thing that happens. It gets smaller and smaller.
It disappears.
And it disappears.
These
are things that happen because it's going to just repeat itself. These are things that happen, and people never pay attention to those.
That was a nifty touch in the film.
You notice that? Because a lot of people don't pay attention.
Yeah.
You see this giant outpouring of stuffed animals, bouquets, and things of the sort, cards.
And it just
dwindles down.
To nothing.
Where it's like everything is back to normal.
Wow, that's an excellent point. Well, between The Hate You Give and Monsters and Men, these are two, I think, must-see movies.
You know what? They are, and I am so upset because I wish these two studios would have spaced them apart.
Yeah, they come out.
They come out at the same time, same weekend.
It's penalizing both these great movies. They're too close. They should have
And some people will say
negotiate.
Some people will say, yeah, you can go see both. I don't think the average moviegoer is going to be able to deal with that.
It's too. No, I'll be completely honest. You can't watch these movies close together. They're too emotionally draining.
Yes.
They're too important. They're too powerful. I mean, you walk out. I walked out of The Hate You Give. I couldn't talk to. I mean, it was like 1,500 people at the TIFF screening. I needed space.
Yeah, I just left. I didn't go to the after party.
No, how do you party after The Hate You Give?
No. I needed to decompress. I went. I had a drink. I just had to be with my thoughts after that movie.
Right. It's just too much.
Again, with Monsters and Men, I mean, the different points of view, and also, you do get different points of view.
They're completely two different movies.
Yeah, two different movies.
I don't want people to get caught up in the subject matter, in the themes. They're completely two different movies from A to Z. I mean, execution, style, delivery,
the tone, in a sense, the tone, the look of it. Those are two different films.
Yep,
granted, the underlying issue,
right,
supports them both.
Wow. Yes,
but
absolutely.
They're completely two different movies.
All right, letter grade.
Wow. I go A-.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, because this didn't have an Anthony Mackie character to sort of like chip away. I know for some people it may be a little slow and deliberate, but it's still well executed.
I agree. I like that it was slow because the scenes felt more genuine that way.
Right.
Like
they did.
Jay.
I give it an A.
Yeah.
I won't give it a plus nor minus. It speaks to you.
Right.
And again, having seen the incident that they used to be reminiscent of one that is prominent.
Mm-hmm. Very prominent. That's a very prominent.
Very prominent. It's an A because it has you almost speechless. Like you said, you watch this, you can't talk to anybody
at all.
Yeah.
You got. I need a moment. I need a moment to process this because
exactly.
you just need that, and it's an A film.
I give it an A as well. I mean, both of these films are outstanding, and I hope they both get seen. Maybe not back to back.
No,
but,
they both deserve to be seen. Now you can't do the double feature, but
well, another film that I saw at Sundance, and this is a movie that other people, my friend Mara Reinstein from Us Weekly, she said you got to see this movie, and I said, what's it about? She goes, I'm not telling you. You need to see this movie. It is called Three Identical Strangers. It is directed by Tim Wardle. And it's on DVD and Blu-ray right now. This is a film. The less you know about it, the better. We're just going to touch on it. I know Jay didn't see it.
There is no possible way you can discuss this movie without giving anything away.
Okay, well, just the nutshell, the nutshell plot of this movie is that it is not based on a true story. It's a documentary. So It is the true story of New York triplets separated at birth, reunited in 1980, never knowing that the other one existed. How they were reunited is a beautiful story unto itself. It's inspiring. It's beautiful. And I remember sitting there watching it the first time, watching this, how they they were on all the talk shows. They were in Madonna's movie, Desperately Seeking Susan, living the good life. And I'm look at my watch. I'm like, this is only the first 20 minutes of the movie. Like, where is this going?
Where is it going?
Well, when you realize, I'm serious, Jay, you got to see this movie.
I will definitely.
When you realize why they were separated, and more to the point, why they were even born, it is disturbing as hell.
No, it is. It's funny you would invite me to the show where we have all the heavy movies that sort of like.
That was not deliberate. I promise that was not deliberate.
That sort of dug deep to my own personal experience in America, but not to give anything away. As I was watching this movie, and you can relate to this, the first thing that came to my mind was the Tuskegee Institute experiments.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's disturbing stuff.
Yes.
I mean, this is a movie.
That's the first thing that came to my mind. It's like, I relate to this film. I understand.
It is a mind-blowing cinematic experience.
Yeah.
And now that,
I'm like, wow.
A lot of people don't get documentaries in smaller towns and everything in theaters, because they just show the big stuff. But now that it is streaming, it's on iTunes, so you can download it there.
And it's actually one of those films that you almost have to watch because if somebody told you about it, you would not believe it.
The truth is indeed stranger than fiction. And when you watch this movie, when you see the events unfold, there's no way you can predict where this is going. You just have no idea where this is going. And every point of this movie, when new information is revealed, it is jaw-dropping. You shake your head. You can't believe it. It is unpredictable. It's mind-blowing. It is shocking stuff. Three Identical Strangers. It is one of the best movies of the year.
It's a great documentary.
I cannot remember whether as a documentary or as a narrative feature or foreign film, any movie that continually, point after point, moment after moment, shocked me and unnerved me in so many ways. And I don't mean that in a way that wanted to jump off a bridge or anything.
No.
But
you
it's
describe that exactly how it
is,
happens. I mean, that's a perfect description of this film.
It is an amazing film. Okay, quick, you'll let it
it's easy. It's an A+. It's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen.
Absolutely A+.
I am definitely going to watch this
Yes,
weekend.
trust me, Jay. I mean, it's amazing. It is amazing. Three Identical Strangers. And I can't wait till you let me know when you see it.
I will let you know immediately after I see it.
You need to watch watch it.
Okay, another movie we're moving on to, because with all the streaming services, Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu especially, like whenever these TV shows drop, like Maniac with Emma Stone and Jonah Hill, whether it's like Glow or Handmaid's Tale or Stranger Things, everyone knows about the shows that drop. But the movies, they kind of get lost. So you got a lot of movies that are original productions that are hiding in plain sight, that are very, very good. And this movie that is streaming on Netflix is one of them. It is a documentary, also a Sundance film, called Reversing Roe, and it is directed by Ricky Stern and Ann Sundberg. It is a historical look back at the history of the controversial abortion issue leading up to the landmark Roe versus Wade Supreme Court ruling that legalized abortion, and during that time, how that decision to have abortion legal is in danger of being overturned. Now, as far as documentaries go, this is pretty standard.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why.
Well, yeah, if you've just been watching the news recently, United States of America is about to appoint a new Supreme Court justice. The appointee may tip the court to become way more conservative, which would ultimately or possibly lead to overturning Roe v. Wade, which is probably why they're pushing this documentary front and center to be streamed. I mean, it's standard issue. It's sort of like how they used to make documentaries back in the 90s. I mean, it's almost like it's like a cinematic Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Sure.
Because there's nothing really new discussed and nothing really creative in the way that they deliver the information. I mean, it's solid. I mean, I live in Kansas City, Missouri, so Missouri was featured prominently, so I know a lot about what's going on, and I'm 3 hours away from Wichita, where a lot of stuff went down back in the day. So I was very familiar. So for me, it was sort of a yawn, but there may be someone out there who doesn't know much about what's been going on.
Having seen, like I said, you saw nothing new. You might have learned a little bit more about the origins and the backstory of things if you didn't know it. Right. Again, if you didn't, but it's a standard documentary, and like you said, it's prominent because of what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, I think, and the reason I wanted to bring it to attention.
No, you have to. It's important.
It's an important issue going on.
I mean, the woman's right to choose, and
it frustrates you when you see it again, even though because it's a standard documentary.
You know everything, but yeah, it does. It makes you like.
But you know what, guys?
I get angry.
Like, not everyone does know everything. I mean,
it's absolutely true.
A lot of people in the younger generation who really don't know enough about Roe versus Wade.
But that's the problem with this documentary, though, because there are tons of younger people that don't know a lot about this issue, but the style of this isn't going to pull them in.
It doesn't. It's to the middle-aged, older adult. It's not to the younger.
It's a grandpa documentary.
It's not to the young, the 20-something-year-old, or even the 16-year-old to say, hey, if you have this situation,
right,
here's why your right to choose is so important and why those may want to take it away.
I agree.
It doesn't reach out to them on that.
Yeah, it doesn't reach out.
The conversation.
There's nothing. The conversation, the delivery,
is stronger than the movie itself.
Right.
Yes.
This needed to have better. This needed to have better music, better graphics. I mean, different talking heads.
It was very straightforward as a documentary goes.
This is like something I would have watched in high school during health class.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? There is nothing wrong with that.
It's nothing wrong.
But because again, there are things like I didn't really know about things leading up to Roe versus Wade. Like I didn't realize how involved Gloria Steinem was in all this. I thought it was very, very interesting, and especially when it gets to the point of the debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in Vegas, where Clinton went very pro-choice, and the argument that Trump used for pro-life really sort of tipped those voters in his favor. Like that's the sort of thing I found kind of interesting.
Yeah,
but otherwise I completely agree.
I just still wish it weren't a pair of Dockers.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. So quick, your letter grade, Shawn, real fast on the film.
It's a C+.
Okay.
I literally was just going to say a C.
Okay, I'm going to give it a B because I just think the subject matter is important. But yeah, it's not a great documentary,
it's important,
but it's more about the conversation.
Fair.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you tweet us at Collider Video, and make sure you tweet me at Movie Mantz and hashtag or Movie Review Talk, and let us know what you think of today's show, what you think of each and every one of the movies we talked about today. There is a lot to talk about with all of these movies, I want to know what you think. We want to know what you think. Gentlemen, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Mr. J Washington. It's MRJAY. You should already know how to spell Washington.
Done. How about
You can find me everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, S. Edwards KC. Yes, the K is for Kansas City.
Well,
so S. Edwards KC.
I cannot thank you enough.
No, this is great, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is my favorite show yet.
Thank you.
This was such great conversation.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk, man. There's
Thanks so much for joining me.
some really important movies, and Team Gaga.
Team Gaga.
And
She's going to win.
She's going to win it.
She's going to win.
She's going to win
All
it.
right, you
We
know
both
what?
said it's here.
Well, we do another show here at Collider called For Your Consideration.
All
We
right.
really get into Oscar and award season stuff, so we'll have to have you back on that. Meanwhile, again, make sure you share today's video with everyone. Make sure you listen to our podcast version on Podcast One. Review that. Share that with everyone. Next week on Movie Review Talk, Oscar-winning director Damien Chazelle for La La Land returns with the story of Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon, in First Man. How great in this movie? Find out next time. And until then, here's looking at you, kid.
Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode. You want to watch more? Then click up here. Or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. If you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.